delighted to have you as part of this session. The reason that this becomes very important, particularly for commissioners, is as soon as you approach the troop, if they make the statement, "I have a scout who," and then they add whatever they want after that, chances are it fits into the category of special needs. Because I have a scout who's autistic, or I have a scout who's ADD, or I have a scout who's, whatever. It becomes a special needs issue. And so just a little bit of background, just so you know where I'm coming from. The first course that I taught in Commissioner College was in 1988. And I've taught in 22 colleges since then, as far as the instruction. I've got my doctorate, as well as being a past president of the college there. I'm Wood Badge trained, past course director. As far as the special ed side, I spent 34 years in education, 25 of those in a special ed classroom. There, for 18 years, I've been on the Council Special Needs Committee. 10 of that has been the chair. And then with the combining of the 3 councils this last year, they asked me to serve as the chair of the Disabilities Awareness Committee. They're under the direction of the Advancement Committee. I'm also involved in a special needs scout troop, a standalone troop. Have been working with them directly for the last 10 years. So that's my little bit of a background. I'd like to take and at least get some idea as to who all of you are. So if you take about a minute or so, just introduce yourself to the group, and then we'll go from there. Larry, do we want to start with you?
Well, I am the Eagle Coordinator for District 2 of the Crossroads of the West Council. I am also a committee chairman of our unit that we just started. Right now we have all 4. I have a pack. I have a troop of boys, a troop of girls, and a crew. And we're doing wunderbar, and it's awesome.
Good, thank you. Dana, a little bit background there.
I have basically been involved in scouting, everything from committee member to I've got my gold star for my Cub Master. I've been a committee chair. I've served as a commissioner for Roundtable for 6 years. I've been a unit commissioner for going on 3 years. But basically almost 25 years in scouting. I have 6 sons, so that got me started. Just love that.
Thank you so much.
So,
Maddie.
My name's Maddie Mayfield. I'm in the Crossroads of the West Council. I'm in the Silver Stage District, and I'm the membership chair of my daughter's troop.
Excellent. Very good. Leela.
So I've been in scouting about 38 years, and about most of that has been Cub Scouting and some varsity and some everything. Right now I'm serving as the unit commissioner for Troop 1907 based in American Fork, Utah. And I don't know what else to say. I have 3 special needs grandkids, and one of them still maybe going to scouting. I don't know. He's on the spectrum, so we'll see how that goes. And so I'm always interested in ways to encourage kids with special needs.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Just give me a little bit of idea. I'm not used to this Zoom stuff as far as the training and the teaching, but we're going to do our best to try and help you understand particularly the role of a commissioner when it comes to dealing with units who have special needs scouts as part of the troop. I'm gonna take and share my screen with you. Hopefully you'll be able to see what's up. Hey, very good. So we're looking at advancement with scouts with special needs. And so as we go through, if I refer to scouts, this is really a generic. We want to take and make sure that you involve the young ladies as well as young men. And as we start looking at the special needs role, probably the thing that we really want to look at as far as helping them is that scouting can have value for all of our eligible youth. Scouting with disabilities often finds challenges, particularly in the social settings, and that scouting teaches skills that helps our special needs youth prepare them for life in society, and scouting provides broader associations for them. And that because it can be very isolated, particularly with parents when they are the primary caregiver and they're the primary one that takes care of them. If they can just understand that scouting can really help their individuals, we can really move through. But basically for regular troops and packs, when I was a course director for Wood Badge and all the courses that I served on, I always hoped that we would have someone on that course who had a special need, because it made a total different course there when people needed to reach out and help someone who had a special need. So for all scouts, we can benefit, or a regular troop can benefit by understanding how to be helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, cheerful, brave, because in society today, we can all benefit from being tolerant with everyone, regardless of their background. And that, so for a scout unit leader, that would really be a benefit to have them there. Now, in order for scouts with disabilities to fully participate, sometimes we need to take and look at documenting the disability. Now, when I say sometimes, if a scout with a disability under age 18 can meet all of the requirements as they're written and given, basically in the scouting portion of the program, then they really don't need to be documented as a special needs scout. However, if they need to take and have alternative rank requirements or alternative merit badges, or reach age 18 and still want to continue in the scouting program, then we are required to take and register them in scouting terms with the form, the request for registration beyond age of eligibility. Okay. Now, as we go through the requirements, I don't set the requirements. They're found in section 10 of the Guide to Advancement.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
Is this the responsibility of the unit commissioner then to do this paperwork, or does the committee chair or someone else?
Okay, this can come from all of them, as you know, as far as the responsibility. As a commissioner, if you go into a troop or a Cub Pack unit or wherever, and someone says, I have a boy who, and they start describing the disability, you need to be aware of this process and procedure so that you can give correct information to that scout unit leader.
Okay,
Because there is so much misinformation out there that hopefully by the time we get through today, we'll be able to help you understand that we really aren't trying to make life miserable for those who are disabled, but at the same time, Boy Scouts have certain requirements that we have to go through. So in order to document the disability, we have to first obtain a letter from the parent describing the disability or asking them to allow their scout to join Scouts BSA there. They need to take and be able to provide a youth application or a membership card. Okay, if they are over age 18, they cannot provide that application until they've met certain requirements. You know, they can give us the blank registration, or the not blank, the filled in registration, and it can be completed all at the same time. But we still need to have the youth application there. We need to have a completed BSA health form, particularly parts A and C. Now this, all it does is this gives us general information health-wise about the scout, but does not give us specific information about the disability, because we have to obtain a statement from a health professional. Now, part of the reason for this is the health professional can give us a little bit of detail. We don't want the full medical file, but we do need to know how, you know, how the disability is going to affect the scout and the scouting program.
Roger, can I say something right here?
Yes.
On this letter from the health professional, be aware that you're going to have to get permission from the parents, a release form of medical information to you, specifically with the name of the child and the name of the organization that it's going to go to. That's just one thing that has to happen in the medical field.
Yes. And normally what we would do is we would ask the parents to obtain this so that they then can share it with us there, because really it's not our place as a district or a council or even a unit to take and be asking for the information. But if we don't have it, then we can't proceed with documenting the disability from the scout side there. Now, when we say health professional, depending on the disability, this can be a medical professional, it can be a psychologist, it can be a psychiatrist, it can be a clinical social worker, it can be an administrator in the education system. Someone who knows the capabilities of the individual there and how they, you know, how they can function.
At what point in a scout's journey does this need to be done?
This can be done anytime from Cub Scouts all the way on through the scouting experience. If they need alternate rank advancements, meaning they can't meet the requirements for rank advancement as they're basically written, then we need to have this documented and it needs to be properly recorded. Then we can proceed with alternate rank advancements, alternate merit badges there, and then if it's once completed, even if it's in the Cub Scouting program, we'll talk about the embedded code that goes onto their scout record. That remains there the rest of their life, which means they can continue to register. In the scout troop that I'm part of the committee, we have scouts ranging anywhere from age 16 to 84. and they're actively involved.
So
Back to our,
meanwhile, they can actually start right at that, when you make your assessment of any young man or young lady that comes into the cubbing program or the scouting program, that is when you want to make sure, or even talk with the parents about the young man's disability or young lady's disability. So at that point, then you can begin your paperwork. Am I correct?
yes, you can start this paperwork anytime. And that as we go through it, because we want everyone on board, including the scout leaders, the unit committee, everyone on board to understand why it's necessary to work with the individual there and meet their needs. We have to obtain a letter from the unit leader. And this is primarily saying, yes, the scout can join our unit. The charter organization is the one who basically determines whether someone can join a unit or not, whether they have a handicap or not. I mean, the unit and the charter gives them that responsibility. So as a commissioner, you just need to know that they have to say, yes, this scout can join our unit. We
So,
also,
so I have another question then. If
okay,
it's based on the COR, if a family moves or whatever, will they have to start all over again in this process?
no, the code would be embedded in their registration, and wherever they go in the nation, the
Okay.
scout membership basically, can be transferred from council to council. So they don't have to redocument it. However, they would need to take and make sure the unit understood, who was joining their unit. Now, in addition to the other things, the thing probably most valuable to the council committee as we have to make those decisions is documentation such as their IEP from school. Now, going back to Leela's statement, because of privacy rights, the parent here again is the one who needs to provide this. But the IEP gives us the strengths and the weaknesses of the scout. And so, they're still the same strengths, whether they're in the education class or whether they're in the scout troop. And so that's why we would like that. If they are over age, in other words, say somebody's 25, disabled, finds out that there's a scout troop, can they join scouts? Yes, they can. At any age, they can join, which is a rather interesting concept there. But that's just one of those little technicalities that's hidden in the section 10. Okay, so the process. The parents and leaders describe the disability. You look at the medical assessment through the BSA forms. You get the supporting documentation from the individual education plan if it's available and the parents give permission. Then we begin to understand the scout's strengths and limitations. We get the medical professionals certification, and then the disability becomes documented. Okay, so when we look at what qualifies, for registration as a scout with disabilities, the disability must be documented as permanent and severe. Disabilities do not go away, contrary to what some parents wish for, particularly in the younger elementary ages. They think they're going to outgrow them. But if it's a true disability, it's not going to go away. Now, as they get older, many times they're able to adapt and be very successful. The arrangement must be permanent. This is not just an extension of time to earn a rank advancement. Okay, and the process applies to all BSA programs from Cub Scouting through Venturing and Sea Scouts. And that in the Crossroads of the West Council, the district executives have designated that the Council Disability Awareness Committee has the responsibility to approve all of the applications. Okay, so if you have someone, please take and contact me. We'll work with you to get those approved. Okay, so again, you ask yourself, well, does a disability exist? If it doesn't, then you use the standard membership ages, you use the standard requirements. We don't need to do anything special other than look at minor accommodations. In other words, if the student is ADD, or if the student is learning disabled, okay, if he can't read, let's get the books for the blind and let him read or have everything read to him. There, those would be using standard membership ages and requirements. The unit leader is responsible basically to verify the disability, certify the charter organizations given approval, and provide documentation to the council committee. In the Guide to Advancement, those steps are outlined in detail in section 10.1.0.2. Then once it comes to us, the council committee that approves it, and on the Scouts membership, it is coded with a code that is embedded so far that it's taken some of our registrars in the office some time to even find them. And it's the membership code that is embedded is different than the annual membership registration. They can register annually in Scouts without having to have this code embedded until they turn age 18. After age 18, they aren't eligible to register there, other than we can go through this process, turn in the application, and then they can after age 18. Now, some of the criteria: if they've got autism, if they're blind, deaf, cognitive impaired, development delay, Down syndrome, emotional behavior disorders, physical disabled, traumatic brain injury, or the last one is kind of a catch-all, multiple coexisting disabilities. Okay, now you notice on that list, there is nothing there that says anything about ADD, ADHD, or learning disabilities. That's because those two categories particularly are not considered a severe disability. Okay, which means that they can take, and normally, given enough patience and time and hopefully not running them out of the program, they can advance. This multiple coexistence says if you have a combination of learning disabilities, ADDHD, and mild cognitive disabilities, okay, they may be combined, and it may be significant enough that they may be able to be registered as a scout with disabilities. So those are the categories National has defined as being significant. Now, starting in 2018, for any scout over age 18, this includes those who have extensions for their Eagle applications beyond age 18. Okay, they are required to complete an adult application. Okay, now wait a minute. Does that mean they're not registered as a youth? No, because you use the position code UP, which means that they are still registered as a youth participant and can continue to advance in rank in the scouting all the way through their Eagle Scout. And if they're over 18, they can continue the rest of their life if they so choose to be registered. And now, once you register them with an adult registration code, they are no longer eligible to continue to work on rank advancements.
So Roger, I've got a question. Can a troop or pack or crew, can they deny entrance into their troop? Or is that a discrimination on disabilities? Or do they have to take a person into their troop?
Yes. The sponsoring organization is the one who determines whether a scout can join their troop. One of the reasons the Disability Awareness Committee exists is for us to help troops understand, or sponsoring organizations understand, how they can benefit by allowing a scout with a disability to join their troop or their pack or their post, or what a ship, whatever. There. So before before we go too far down the line, if you hesitate that, or if you can see any hesitation at all on the part of the sponsoring organization, please take and contact the council committee, because we need to sit down with the sponsoring organization. If after they once understand what we are doing, why the scout can benefit, or why the youth can benefit by being in scouting, if they still choose to deny that, then they can become subject to the regulations that the Civil Rights Division has, and they can file a complaint with the Civil Rights Commission there. But we do not want that happening until after the Council Disabilities Committee has met with the sponsoring organization there, so that they fully understand what they're committing to. You will find from past experience, any scout with disabilities, unless they are profoundly disabled, any scout can benefit, and any youth can benefit from the scouting program. From experience, we have got youth who are 22 years old, non-verbal. They are life scouts. They are autistic. They have elopement issues. But it takes a great deal of patience to work with them. But every unit, like I said to begin with, can benefit from having a scout with disabilities in their unit. And it's to the advantage of the scout to learn the scout law. Interesting, they must complete youth protection training. Now,
Roger, can I inject something here for Leila?
Yeah.
Just make sure, Leila, that when you make the assessment, and if the chartered organization decides that they do not want to accept them, you need to immediately contact Roger and the committee so they can begin the process so that it doesn't drag out to where it ends up in court.
Yes. Okay. Now with COVID, we've had some very interesting experiences with getting those who have previously been registered beyond age of 18 to complete youth protection. And that if you have any youth in that category, please take and have the parent or have the unit leader or someone contact me. We have ways of helping them get through the youth protection, because 99% of them cannot sit through the 76 minutes of instruction and then complete the test at the end of it, where all three categories have all the questions mixed up and messed up in it. We have taken the training, broken it down into segments so that they can complete it. They also have to consent for the background check. Okay, so this is new as of last May. There. Okay, those with disabilities, they're expected to accomplish the requirements as written. However, there are alternative requirements that are available. Okay, the scout needs to be registered beyond age of eligibility. To take advantage of that, the scout with a permanent physical or mental disability, or a disability that's expected to last 2 or more years beyond his 18th birthday, there can receive permission to do alternative requirements that are specific to each scouting program. Now in Cubs, the standard is do your best. Okay, that means that Cub masters and pack committees can jointly determine appropriate substitutions for the youth unable to attempt a requirement. Okay, so the responsibility there basically can be within your committee. The parents need to be involved because they can assist by providing input on their son's abilities and challenges. Okay, so that's the standard for Cub Scouts. Now, Boy Scouts, that's a whole different animal. Rank requirements must be completed as written, no more, no less. That becomes a interesting part to look at, because tenderfoot, second class, and first class can be modified as long as they receive approval from the Council Disability Awareness Committee. Okay. Ventures and Sea Scouts working with Boy Scout advancements, they're basically treated as Boy Scouts. Now, for the council committee to be able to take action on alternate rank advancements, this is first class or tenderfoot, second class, and first class. The committee needs to recommend to us what the alternate requirements are, because every scout with a disability is individual. The committee has no way of saying, yes, I know what portion or how the autistic child is and what can he do and what can't he do. So the committee needs to make sure when that information comes to us that they have given us requirements. So again, does the disability exist? Yes or no? If it does, you document it. The committee and the unit crafts the alternate requirements. They submit them to the council committee. The council will evaluate it. If it's not approved, then we send it back and explain why. If it is, then you receive authorization to continue. Okay. Now, for alternate merit badges, this is another interesting situation. because merit badge requirements must not be modified, but it's permitted to substitute one badge for another. In other words, don't start a badge that the scout can't complete. And we're talking primarily the required badges for Eagle Scout. Okay? Now, when we say requirements can't, let's see, how do I approach that one? When I say requirements can't be modified, they can be accommodated, but they can't be modified. A modification is you have a scout who comes along and there is something he cannot do in one of the requirements. And so you as a committee say, you don't have to do it because of the disability. That is a modification that changed the requirement from can do to can't do. Now, an accommodation says you look at the abilities of the scout and he does it the way he can do it. For example, you got some requirements for hiking for certain of the requirements. Okay. Well, an accommodation for that may be what? How does the scout get around as far as his mobility? So what would be an appropriate accommodation to the hiking site?
Roger, are you talking about, like, for an example, taking a hike, especially for those that are wheelchair bound on a trail type kind of system, or is that what you're meaning?
Yeah, I mean, they can use their wheelchair. When it says a hike, many of us automatically assume that we're going to the mountains and we're going to go, hiking someplace, there. It can be in a city park. It can be on asphalt. But because that's his mode of transportation, that is an accommodation. That is not a modification. He's still able to cover the same distance. Okay. We've got young men when they go to particularly Camp Lowell. We've had several blind scouts complete the rifle shooting. Well, if they can't see the target, how can they hit the target? Well, an accommodation is they put a bell on the target.
That's what I was
They
gonna
can-
say.
They can take, and there's nothing that says they can't put the gun on a gun stand, aim it at the target, and have the scout pull the trigger. That's an accommodation because he still pulled the trigger. He still used a gun. He still hit the target because he could hear it. Okay. So enough on accommodations, but to substitute merit badges, they need to be as challenging as the one they're asking to substitute. You need to use the application, which is shown there on the screen. There's a second sheet to it that has some signatures that are required. And if the scout uses an alternative merit badge, regardless of his age, if he reaches the Eagle rank, this application must accompany his Eagle application to national. Okay? It needs to be dated before the scout starts the merit badge. In other words, we can't go back and pick up a merit badge and that there. So it's got to be completed before. And here again, the council committee has to be the one that does it. For boards of review for the Eagle rank, okay, it is appropriate for the scout leader, for the parents, for everyone else to meet with the board before the board and describe any special circumstances. The unit leader, scoutmaster or scoutmaster particularly, make sure he's in attendance. You allow the parents and the guardians to attend, and they can insist with interpretation and insight. And here again, the Council Disabilities Awareness Committee must attend all Eagle boards of review. Okay, now some flexibility. Wait a minute, that's a bad slide. Issues you can encounter, a decision, okay? Do they join a regular unit? Do they join a special unit? A special unit means that it's basically just special needs scouts. They have their place. We prefer the regular unit because they want to be successful in society. Sometimes you have unhelpful parents. They're overprotective. They sometimes don't want to disclose the disability. That gets to be an interesting challenge. Call me, we can work you through it. Behaviors of others towards members with disabilities. Here again, we need to teach how to be kind and courteous and helpful. If the activities do not allow the scout to participate, then we need to be able to provide something for them that they can participate in. Also, the administration of medications becomes kind of a challenge. We don't want any special needs scouts taking holidays from their medications just because of the disability. Okay, an ISAP. Okay, this is an individual scout advancement plan. Okay, in school, they have the IEP. However, this is specific to scouting. It becomes a roadmap so the parents, if they're not familiar with the scouting program, can see how the scouting can benefit from it. It becomes a contract that can be followed and updated, and it can become a guide for the unit, the district, and council decision makers. Basically, it's looking at what the individual can do, what he can't do, and look at what possibly we're going to need to accommodate for. Okay, again, the parent, the guardian, the teachers, the person themselves they need a voice in what's happening. There's national resources that's available there, and I'll show you where these are at here, as well as the ISAP. On the council website, Disability Resources, if you go to the resource tab, it will open up and you'll see a tab that says Disability Awareness Resources. It brings up this page. Our legal requirements are found in the Guide to Advancement. Okay, the required forms, all of them that I've talked about today, are in the second section there under required forms. It's got the ISAP, it's got the alternative merit badges, it's got registration beyond eligibility, alternate rank advancements, and the 2021 registration requirements. But probably the most beneficial is at the bottom. This tips and strategies. Click on that link to download and you get this array. Okay, we've specifically designed this to help all parents, unit leaders, as well as anyone involved with disabilities. When I was a school teacher, this became one of my primary resources when I had a new student who came into my class that I didn't understand his specific disability. Because what you need to do is go down the left-hand column, which shows the disability or the special need. If you click on it, it'll describe it for you in general terms. Under the second column, if you want to know the specifics, click on it. Now, the guide is the guide to advancement with scouts with special needs and disabilities. It's currently in print, you know, and it talks about helps. The manual there and the number after it is the page that was in the 2007 Scouting with Youth with Disabilities Manual. This is currently out of print. When they bring it back into print, it's going to be in a electronic form. But my understanding is it's going to have links very similar to this, where in the middle column, you can take and see the, let's see, characteristics. On my screen, I can't see the top code of it. But anyway, this is the basically looking at how the scout, the youth, can benefit from scouting when they have the disability. The next two columns, the next column is the parent. The next one, the last one is the scout leader, and helps for them how they can help that youth benefit from the scouting program, and helps to them so they don't make the wrong mistakes, particularly when they have disabilities. This is on the council website, and we don't have time to go through the scenarios, unfortunately, because we're down to less than a minute of time. But your scenario one, scout permanently uses the wheelchair, needs to take a hike, wants to join the troop. Is he considered hiking if he uses his wheelchair? And I've already answered that, which would be yes, that he's transportation. This one has to deal with a youth who is on track to complete his Eagle Scout rank. At 17, he's in an automobile accident and hospitalized. Does he require, or can he qualify as a scout with disabilities beyond age 18? Okay, and basically, yet he can if it's severe enough, particularly if it's traumatic brain injury. However, if he just needs an extension, then that needs to be looked at. A learning disability normally doesn't qualify for an extension. Meanwhile, we're down to 10 seconds. Thank you for being here. If you need to take and contact me,